last video for 2ATMC.
Oh.
I know, it's crazy how time's flown by, right?
Yeah. Times has flown by, man. I remember the first week when we did that Avatar: The Last Airbender thing, and then like Sophia and Cynthia with the hit woman. That was good, man. That was so good. That was so much fun.
Yeah, and then we did the paper on the tattooed and fierce women, crazy cybers and
Oh,
stuff like this.
oh yeah.
Horoscope, yeah, I remember that too.
And we did the paper about bareback, which was very interesting.
Then we had week 4 with reality television and the class, and we played with the fourth wall at the end.
That was cool.
That was pretty fun.
That was really good. That
was a Hitchcock one.
The Hitchcock thing, you know, but
It wasn't so good, like, you know, the edit, but
And then last week we had the serial day killer, and we talked about mangas and installations and copywriting and all that stuff.
What was that about?
I can't believe how much.
Oh,
That was the
killer.
day killer,
That was the one.
you.
Oh, yes, the one where I killed on the stage.
Anyway, guys, now today's paper. Today's paper, we're looking at embodiment online, and we're looking at anorexic. We're looking at anorexic community online, and the paper covers theories of embodiment, social construction of disorder and deviance, and practices and problems investigating this anorexic group online. The paper explores this pro-ano community, dividing the sites that sponsor this kind of behavior into 3 different types. The first one is those that promote the anorexic behavior. The second one is the acceptance of an anorexic lifestyle, and the third one is the sites that give a voice to those who don't understand the problems that they're facing with anorexia, which is called ano-evolution. The paper explores the theories around this kind of behavior, focusing on the feminist approaches, which focus on the expression, which proposes that this behavior is as a result of expression of oppression in society because of the power structure, obviously, with the hegemony in society.
That's really. That sounds like a lot, you know. But well, yeah, we got this. But Anyway, I looked at some of the theories. One of the theories that's in that paper, and it was the one, a couple of them actually, of concepts explored by the paper, and there were the 2 concepts of authenticity and othering in the pro-ano communities, and there's basically a recurring theme of a policing of authenticity and the questioning of authenticism within the paper, and it's at play in the private communities because they're engaged in a process of not only self-policing, but its members' attempts to establish authentic identities as an active process of reflexivity on not just a personal level, but also a wide scale. So on a personal level, the people know that they're anorexics, and they know how to express that. But then the sites themselves as well have a distinct sort of identity about what it is that they do, so they don't try and make themselves seem like some sort of community of people that's all touchy-feely, and but they're very explicit in the way that they express themselves, and there's this constant sort of need for them to find people that are really, really anorexic and like authentic anorexics. And then you've got the so-called one-orexics, which are like wannabe anorexics, so people that come on and claim to be anorexic because it seems fashionable. And what happens to them is that they're questioned and they're derided and aggressively rooted out, resulting in what David Giles, who's one of the theorists or the writers, that's scholars, that's quoted in the paper, he calls it, he observes as not just a relational identity but a defensive one. So they're not just related to the concept of anorexia, they actually defend the identity of anorexia. So it's like they're actually caught in between two worlds, one of being an anorexic and the other one of trying to defend anorexia and being an anorexic. And then the concept of othering, which is really kind of interesting one, because othering is meant to be about dominant groups. Foucault says that when we other another group, we point out their perceived weaknesses to make ourselves look stronger or better. It implies a hierarchy and it serves to keep power where it already lies. But these pro-ana groups and the communities, they're little small sort of islands of power, and they're all constantly trying to restore and kind of preserve that power by othering other, like monorexics and people that look at anorexia as a disease, because generally in society it's viewed as a problem, a mental problem, a psychological problem that needs to be healed. And pro-ana groups then, in their attempt to protect the communities where they seek to escape othering due to the social constructs of the female body, are engaged in a process of othering themselves. So they other people.
That's really good, Dante. You got it, bro. Yeah. These communities help for this type of individuals to be together in a place where they have safety, let's say. Before these online communities, these people could only meet like in treatment programs, so they couldn't actually support each other, because there they were like had to give up their addiction and this thing. Also, these communities should not be viewed anymore as virtual communities, because they are becoming as real as possible, because they are based on human interaction, and they are just confined in a virtual world. So even though you might say that it's virtual and everything is happening online, they are actually as real as it can be. These online communities developed like their own language, and they use their own words, and they have like words that only like pro-ana can understand them, because you know how you've mentioned before anorexics, they can't understand this, and this is how like they can identify themselves as part of this community and anorexics. They are like tips to lose weight, how to avoid food, and all this kind of stuff. Sorry. In these online communities, the ones who participate, they explain their behavior in a positive way, and they make it sound like it's a lifestyle and it's something good, not like something that needs to like get fixed, and it's not something that can be treated as medical.
So gender is another basic issue discussed on this paper, and we have scholars like West and Zimmerman in their massive work of 1991 known as Gender Talk, and they both claim that gender is not a set of traits or a variable, nor is it a role, though it is the doing, and it involves a complex of socially guided perceptual, interactional and micro-political activities that cast particular passives as expressions of masculine and feminine natures. Judith Butler, in her massive work of 1993 known as Bodies That Matter, and she defines gender as not being a noun or a set of free-floating attributes, though she says that unlike sex, gender does not have a biological basis or essence, nor does it exist prior to and outside the discourse. Instead, she says that gender is a complex and social construct that can in principle exist in multiple forms and transcend sex boundaries. She regards it as a performance rather than an essence, as a practice rather than a category, and also as an actively constructive performance rather than a pre-existing role. These pro-ana communities constitute a site of heavy censorship and moral panic, allowing concerns about the well-being of young girls and women to be shaped by conservative, patriarchal and misogynic notions of femininity. And through moral panic, female bodies is once again positioned as in need of protection by men.
Wow. That was good. That was good.
Well done.
Methods used to analyse the research in the paper are observation and textual analysis of postings and images on the 14 most popular publicly accessible discussion sites available on MySpace, the social network. So these groups weren't easy to find, like you couldn't just type in pro-anorexia and then you'll find the website. And so they sort of searched through the website with keywords such as Anna and Mia, which are slang words that they use within these communities to describe the conditions. And the study is actually one of the biggest studies done on pro-anorexia communities to date, and it's collected huge amounts of data. However, one of the key elements to textual analysis is actually understanding and really knowing what is going on with the text that you're analysing. And because these groups constantly move, as we said before, they move from different domains, and just the key individuals that are like running these websites stay the same, but they go from different websites. Sometimes the researchers would get information and they would, like half of the conversation would have been on another website, so they wouldn't really get the whole picture, and therefore it could lead to an understanding and the wrong interpretation of the information. So it's not very, may not be very accurate in that sense. The observation also took place covertly, so undercover. The website users of the sites didn't give their permission for to be studied, and obviously this is a very sensitive subject, so it can be difficult to study a group while participating, as they might not be true because they already obviously they have expectations and things like that. Often they couldn't really be sure about the use of the website, who was an anorexic or a one-orexic, as they called them. But it's important to remember that this study is more about the embodiment and how people see their bodies online, and therefore these platforms, the research is not so much about finding true anorexic, but looking at these communities and how they provide platforms and support for the groups that use them.
Yeah. You go, girl!
Go girl!
Go, girl!
Yeah.
So volunteered self-starvation wasn't seen as a bad eating disorder. It was seen as and regarded as a spiritual practice, and in order to reach divine atmosphere, divine self-feeling or something like this, you were supposed to self-starve yourself, and it was seen as a spiritual practice. Also to be the feminine creator for a woman, she was supposed to self-starve herself as well in order to reach it. And fat women were seen as a non-spiritual person, whereas thin woman was allowed to do more than that. Medical and psychological researchers indicated that eating disorders have the highest mortality rate of any psychiatric illnesses. So because all of that was linked to the spiritual practices, it then became the most psychologically seen illness.
I'm just going to say that the research would be more complete if it had happened recently, as now there are quite a few social networking platforms that have become really popular in the last few years, and they're not included in this research. It'd be fair to talk about ethical issues, as the participants of this research didn't know that their interactions online were being watched and analysed. Personally, having read the article and also having seen similar content and reactions online, I believe psychological and self-esteem issues are huge factors when it comes to anorexia and eating disorders. Girls and women will do anything to lose weight, but sometimes it gets to the point where they just can't be happy with the way they look, no matter how much weight they lose. And within these communities, one finds acceptance, and they share their experiences and weight loss
progress with each other, feeling happy and proud of the results and how far they've gone, how much weight they've lost. But that's actually, their figure actually seems really unhealthy to the rest of the society. So yeah, that's what I got.
You great! Really nice. You know to do your job.
Nah, thank you.
I don't wanna go there. We should never go there. Damn. Why you wanna go there?